Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us again today. Kyle Gagne, Techni-Contact Western Regional Manager here. And today we are going to be working with our partners out of Austria, Wolfvision, to discuss, optimizing engagement and hybrid learning in a working environment. I know hybrid learning, all this, these are the buzzwords, and this is the way everybody is now working towards in the future. And we're actually going to be focusing on a few key items, particularly the visualizers from Wolfvision. So for today's event, we're actually going to cover, I got 46 webinar etiquette tips I'd like to cover to make sure this goes smoothly. Okay, not really. We're not really going to worry about that. We're actually going to focus, this is going to be a quick webinar, 30 to 40 minutes. We're going to focus on hybrid solutions from our partners. And you know what? We're going to make this, we're recording this event for later, and we're going to make this available for you to view at a later time for those who couldn't join us. And we're going to make a Q&A available as well. So near the end, we're actually going to have some dedicated time. But if you have questions during the event, we've actually got our technical panelists, Mark Gilner and Dave Nicholas, joining us to answer questions during the event. So Wolfvision. What is Wolfvision? So I'm going to do a quick overview of one of the solutions Wolfvision provides, which is the Cynap. Those of you who are not familiar with the Cynap, it's actually one of the all-in-one powerful collaboration and presentation solutions that Wolfvision is well known for, award-winning. And a few key features with the Wolfvision Cynap lineup, as you can see with that big granddaddy, we can actually replace an entire rack of equipment. So the Cynap actually can be used for a Zoom and a Teams appliance. We can record, stream, collaborate, annotate, you name it, right? Which, doesn't require any programming, any specialized training, and obviously this is going to streamline our hybrid installations for our customers and simplify the solution. So in this new world, BYOD, we're talking hybrid, we're talking bringing in our devices, bring your own meetings these days. So how do we accomplish that with Cynap? Well, native BYOD. I don't know about you guys. I'm not going to sanitize a button or have to worry about downloading an app. Cynap, all the Cynap lineup actually are natively supporting for AirPlay, Chromecast, and Miracast natively, and the apps that are available are optional but not required. And as I mentioned on the onset, we can actually accomplish a lot of these hybrid platforms with the Zoom and MS Teams clients built right into the Cynaps, as well as WebRTC support for a lot of our other web-based application and UC environments, such as BlueJeans, WebEx, basically pick your unified communications platform. So with that, we actually have a special guest presenter here. We've got him all the way from Oslo, Norway. We have our international sales manager of Nordic countries and Canada, Jan Ivar, who has been with Wolfvision for the last 5 years. And I will actually hand it off to our master of ceremonies here, Jan.
Thank you so much, Kyle. As mentioned, my name is Jan Ivar. I am based in Oslo, Norway, trying to do my best to support Techni-Contact in Canada and also cover the Nordic countries in Europe. I'd just like to share my presentation of today. Get started.
So Jan, we were just looking at your presenter notes there. There we go. Perfect.
You should be good. Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. So for those of you who does not know Wolfvision today, our headquarters is in Austria, which we are based out of. Wolfvision is one of the oldest and most reliable brands in the AV history. Was founded all the way back in 1966 by Joseph Wolf. We started working with Visualizer, hence the name Wolfvision. He actually introduced the very first version of the document camera all the way back in 1974. So you can see some examples on the pictures besides on the side. it's been quite the development over the years to come up to today. All our products are manufactured in Austria under quite strict quality control, meaning that we do everything in one house, which makes us quite unique in the AV industry today, I would say. We do not have any production outsourced anywhere. So we have R&D, manufacturing, storage, you name it, everything in one building. So make us have total control, everything from the first chip up until the product is sent out of our building. Our slogan somehow is built to last. We always use high quality components, so we can ensure we have outstanding mechanical quality, durability, and reliability. So we can see that our products last for years and years and years without any failure. I should not say any, because anything can happen, of course. But you can see by our numbers that our products last for a long, long time. We're going to touch base on some of our product line today. I'm not going to go too deep in everything, but just to show you that we have quite the variety of desktop models and also a couple of ceiling models as well. So I'll jump into the first one. This is our somehow entry-level visualizers, which is the VSolution Cam. This is a smaller mobile unit. As you can see, as I mentioned, our products are built to last, which means you can see this has a metal housing, which all of our cameras actually have. So it's quite durable. You can move it around, you can knock it over and so on, and it will not affect the camera pretty much whatsoever. All of our products has a one push to start system, which means either you push a button, or in some cases you can either lift up the camera and it will start up. That will make the light source come on, and it will automatically autofocus onto the surface, and you're good to go. So it's extremely easy to use, and this is how we built all of our cameras, on that principle alone. As you can see on top, you have a small light source. This is fixed and calibrated also with the camera as well, which means this is to ensure you that you eliminate pretty much all shadows. Also to give you a reflection-free image. You can see quite a lot of other products where have movable light sources. You will always have an issue with shadowing, showing either objects or when you're right on the surface as well. This is completely eliminated pretty much with our products. So this one is a full HD camera with 4x digital zoom. So it's a fully digital camera. It's quite easy to use. As I mentioned, you have a manual focus, but it comes out of the box like all of our cameras with autofocus enabled. The little light source is 30,000 free LED lighting, maintenance free, excuse me, which means there's pretty much nothing you would need to replace or gets broken on these units whatsoever over time. You can see pretty much our cameras last 10 to 15 years easily. This one also has an optional riser plate, which means you can get it up from the table. It will need to be mounted, but then you also get the option of having A3 as a format on this as well. I'll step up to the one step up. This is the V63 Neo version. We have two versions of this, the A and the B. As you can see, this one is a little wider in range. It has 6x optical zoom combined with 2x digital zoom. The difference here with the A version is you also get a base plate as well. But you can see the form factor is the same. You have the metal housing combined with the calibrated fixed light source and camera as well. Difference here is we moved the panel up. So you can see you have a little wheel on top where you can adjust the zoom quite easily. Having the light source coming on, you can just, if you want to turn the camera off, you simply flip it down, as you can see on top, and the camera will turn off itself. So simply by flipping it up, the teaser comes in, flip it up, and then it's good to go. Same here as well. You have a high-speed continuous autofocus on this, which means if you zoom in and out on objects, it will focus in on objects while you are zooming in and out. It's quite unique. We also have a 6-point focus chip on these units, which means you can have focus on 6 different points on the base plate. Usually most document cameras only have 1 focus point in the middle. So if you show bigger objects, you usually have a blurry image on the sides, which is not the case with our cameras at all. I also want to mention that we have an optional dry erase working surface to all our cameras with base plates, which means you can have this adhesive surface which you can glue onto the base plate and then pretty much make it into a whiteboard surface. We see this a lot, to have all the pictures digitalized, to have your whiteboard somehow digitalized. So a lot of, especially in the educational environment, a lot of teachers use this, like math teachers need to have to write on the surface because they can work facing the students while they're working on this surface, and it's being shown on the big screen back so all the students can see. The version B is a mountable version, which means you mount it onto the surface of a table, but it can also be swiveled, which means you can push it down into the side if you want to have a clean space. I know the pictures might not be the best to show the swivel version, but let's say you have a square desk, then you can have quite the nice and sleek table once this is tilted and swiveled to the side. If you do one step up, we have the V63 Neo. Pretty much the difference, you can see the form factor quite the same as the V63. Difference is this have twice the optical zoom. This one also have a version B where you have a preview screen on top as well. You can see the same here. You have the working buttons up on top, so they don't interfere with the working surface while you're working. This also had the reflection-free area working surface with optional dry erase adhesive surface as well. So pretty much the difference between this one and the V63 is how much detail-oriented you need and want to work. We sell a lot of these to especially like medical training, technical training. We have like Apple, Microsoft use our products. When they go into chipsets and these things, they want to zoom in and details are of the essence, then of course they would step up to the larger versions. That being said, these 2 units are going to come in versions of 4K within end October this year. So this will be a change. Hence, we have already the V63 UHD version. This is our top model of the table versions. This is a full 4K document camera. You can see the form factor is a little bit different. You have a small handle on the middle of the arm. So pull this and this will collapse down and turn itself off, just like you would with the V63 and 8 Neo. Except this one is I would say even more sleeker to hide it away when it's not in use. It's quite a powerful camera in it as well. It has 16 times optical zoom, 4 times digital. This has a 9-point touchscreen preview monitor as well, which means if you have different objects on the desk, you can actually touch with a touchscreen on top, as your preview monitor has built-in touch. So you can actually select which area of the surface you want to focus on if you have like different objects with different heights, which are all zoomed in on at the same time. It's quite unique. I did not mention this. All our cameras are UVC compatible, which means you can also pretty much use them as a USB cameras as well. I will get back to that a little later. This one has 2 HDMI inputs and 1 HDMI output, which means in a smaller room you can also even use this as your switch if you have different sources you want to connect through the camera and out. Just as an added feature as well. On to our ceiling versions, we have one product called the i14. I would say this is mostly used for within health. pretty much because of the closed capsule. You can see the housing is quite closed. So this is usually mounted up in the ceiling. Difference here is we do not have a light source, which we have on all our other cameras. But this one has the optional laser pointer, which means you can have a small laser showing the center of the pickup area on the table, for example. We see this being used quite in like operating surgery rooms and these kind of scenarios. Difference here is this also have the possibility for H.264 streaming. It does support PoE+. So by one LAN cable, this can be powered. This makes it quite install friendly. In the box, there also is a ceiling mount and a tripod mount included, making this quite a complete and easy system to use. And we do have one step up, which is the C6, excuse me, which is pretty much the Rolls-Royce in our lineup of cameras. This is quite the powerful ceiling document camera. What differs this from the other ones is that this has a synchronized light field, which provides quite the easy and intuitive positioning of objects. It illuminates a section of the working surface, which is also identical to the pickup area of the camera. So the user will know exactly where to place the objects or documents. You can see the small picture on the right side. You see the small light source, and this is the exact pickup area as well. The camera and the light projector are situated side by side on this one, so they follow the same path, which is almost completely eliminates shadows, which is quite unique as well, because this also makes it possible if you see the picture below, you see the small jar of pills inside. This camera actually makes it possible to even zoom into these enclosed spaces, which usually with other document cameras, you will have shadowing, making this completely dark and unseeable. This is quite a unique camera. So we, for those that need a detail-oriented and have, especially for showing objects, this is the camera to go for. This also have streaming, multicast and unicast streaming, H.264. This also have an 8 gigabit internal memory, so you can also store actually snapshots and videos onto the camera, and then choose to stream it out at the later time as well. I mentioned that all our cameras are UVC, have UVC support. This we see more and more, always talking about these hybrid solutions, especially within educations. I think our smaller camera, the VSolution Cam, has been quite the desired model to use, which the teachers have brought with them from the classrooms and into their homes. Just be able to show objects, use them within, fully compatible using with services like Teams, Zoom, or WebRTC. They will pop up like a USB camera, except you get the whole different detail orientation when you show objects. So if you use, as I mentioned, our products with the base plates as well, you can write and draw, and this will be shown into the video conference as well, making this quite unique product to have and to work with into video conferencing setting. With that being said, we also see this with all these hybrid solutions. Kyle mentioned that we also do have products, collaboration products like the Cynap, which is shown in this picture, which has the possibility for recording and streaming itself, but also connected with visualizers. You can see in this image, you can connect a document camera into the Cynap. This will also be shown on the big screen. Of course, this could be streamed out to Zoom services, Team services, and so on, so that people at home as well can see what you are working on the surface. I can give an example that's quite interesting. We sold a lot of these Cynaps to the University of Oslo, and they monitor the use of all their products. And what they saw, especially with the Corona coming in, they started using Zoom but the teachers were still in the classrooms. And this also happened before the corona, to be honest, but they saw the usage after the Cynap came in. They saw the usage of the visualizers going massively up, and they didn't really know why. So they start asking the teachers how they were using the rooms, what was different. And as they used the Cynap as the recording unit, or also for streaming for for students sitting at home watching the lecture, they stopped pretty much using the whiteboard and started using the visualizers as the whiteboard surface, which means that whatever they were writing on these surfaces, it would be recorded from the visualizers into the Cynap and then digitalized, and of course made it possible for students to sit at home, pretty much see. Because the old ways you usually did it was to have a camera up in a corner, recording a teacher standing and writing on a whiteboard surface, which was hanging on the wall, which pretty much made it impossible to read what was written. The students sitting at home was not able to participate in what was discussed and written. So this was quite a massive change in how they started to work, using these visualizers into these hybrid solutions with people sitting at home.
So Jan,
yep.
I would also like to highlight, we've actually been having great success with the Cynap here in Western Canada and in Canada in general, right? So we've actually proposed and have this solution in a couple of higher education universities here. We've got Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. They've actually got 2 full systems being installed, as well as Thompson Rivers University and Vancouver Community College. And as you can see with Janivar's slide here, you can notice that the Cynap is actually replacing a whole bunch of equipment, right? We're not using a smart board or an annotation. We're not using a separate camera feed or some sort of video wall processor to accomplish all this. And this is all being accomplished over a touch screen. So very, very powerful solutions here from Wolfvision that we're seeing.
True, thank you. Just want to go over some key features. As I mentioned, built to last is our slogan. We do have a 5-year standard warranty on all our products. However, we see them last much, much longer as a general. Our failure rate today, based on repairs, are 0.36% on a worldwide scale, which is next to nothing, I would say. As I mentioned, easy to use, 1-button start, flip to use. Adjustment-free lighting as well, with the reflection-free pickup area, excellent color reproduction. This is quite key for us as well. As I said, I didn't go very much deep into detail on the optics and everything, but our color reproduction as well is quite unique. This is why we are also massive. We have massive customers within, especially courtrooms, showing evidence in these kind of things. Of course, if you want to show a knife and you want to say that the handle is brown, it's quite bad if the recording shows a picture of a knife that's red, for example. So this is also why we are chosen by some of the top customers around there. We have a free remote management tool as well. This goes with both the visualizers and our whole Cynap family, which means you can manage all of our equipment, do firmware updates, and so on through this tool, free of charge. And we also have free firmware updates for all of our products. Just to mention some of our customers we have on our bragging list. We have quite a reputation being so long in the industry as we have. We are known for being the best at what we do. And on visualizers, we are top of the class, I would say, without hesitation. And with that, I want to thank you.
Thanks for all that information, Janivar. I know we covered a couple of markets there. You mentioned we have education customers as well as medical. Are there other verticals that you guys are seeing out in the European markets where this is thriving, the visualizer specifically?
Well, we have customers all over the world, though. Within visualizers, we are not just with the European market. I would say we are big with Asian market, Australian, African market even. North American market, we have these days, especially within courts, we have huge projects going on with the US courts, which are standardizing on Cynap with the visualizers as well. But within health, always been big, of course. But education, we are top of the class. It's our biggest market for sure.
Absolutely. And you highlight kind of a very interesting point there with the visualizers, Jan, is virtual screen sharing, as fancy as I can get with these graphics, it doesn't replace, actual learning and actual physical paper all the time. We look at visualizers, for example, the ceiling camera. How are architects and engineers going to review an entire huge span line drawing, reflected ceiling plans? Generally, this is where the visualizers come in. And it looks like we don't have any questions, so we're coming up on the first half hour. I would actually like to bring up one item that Jan Ivar had brought forth in his presentation, and that is the Wolfvision VSolution. I'm sorry, I've got a whole bunch of windows in the way, if you pardon me. The VSolution management tool, VSolution Link Pro. So this is a free download from Wolfvision. So you can actually see in a snapshot. So this is just downloaded and installed on my desktop PC here in my home office. And we can actually see in a quick snapshot all the Wolfvision devices on the network. As you can see, there's a lot of red, there's some green there. So we got a great snapshot. So think higher education, right? So Jan Ivar highlighted, pardon me if I don't recall the particular case study you mentioned, Jan, but if they have hundreds of visualizers and hundreds of Cynaps in the environment, how are we going to manage those from an IT support perspective? Well, this is where VSolution Link Pro comes in. We can I have right behind me, I've got a Cynap core. This is actually the team green here. And as you can see, we already know in a snapshot that the firmware is up to date. We've got our serial number as well as our model. And we can also see the state. We can notice that this unit is actually already online and operating. Clicking on the unit, we've got a snapshot of, we can run firmware updates. We can actually restore settings. So maybe we have an error or something and we want to restore to factory settings or create a settings template. So on the onset of today's webinar, I discussed, streamlining installations. Again, if we're deploying hundreds of these units and all the settings are the same, well, we can actually create a settings template directly from one unit and copy all the login information, security settings, our mirroring settings, and then push those to new units. And as you can see, we can actually also jump onto the web interface, and it's just an example right behind me, what we're seeing, and we can actually control our device directly from the web browser, which highlights one of the big benefits of Cynap. We're not using a dedicated proprietary touch panel. We're not using a dedicated control system to do this. This is over an HTML web page. So we're eliminating a lot of those components in this space that are, might have to be sanitized. I'm sorry, we live in a world of COVID and Delta variants, and there's every equipment that needs to be touched. Now we have to sanitize and do that. Or we have our users and end users come in and with only their devices, log in, control the Wolfvision directly from their iPad that they take home, and we don't have to worry about equipment, apps, or even buttons walking away, right? So quick snapshot, we can also see here, team red, this is offline. I only have one, but we can tell already the firmware is up to date. But we've actually got the option to automatically, pardon me, it's logged me out. We can actually set up a scheduled task here to power on, power off. Maybe we have, some greener initiatives within the universities or buildings to save power. We can set up automatic reboots as well as automatic firmware updates, and we can actually set those up on particular tenants, locations, as well as intervals. And one thing is actually quite fantastic here. We've actually got a whole host, all our firmware files for all the Wolfvision systems are available from here. So imagine an IT tech with this loaded on a tech laptop going room to room. we can automatically download the firmware versions required and push and update and test these rooms, on the fly. And as you can see here, we've also got our loaded settings template. So I've actually created 2 settings for one of the more robust solutions that Wolfvision offers with the VSolution matrix. And I've actually set up a configuration file that I can push to new Cynap cores, as well as to our Cynap masters, right? And then, of course, we can always set up user rights to manage these systems, as well as different tenants. So again, let's talk higher education. Multiple campuses, multiple buildings. We want to set those up in separate tenants, buildings, locations, maybe even departments, right? All done with basically a free application that is loaded onto any kind of Windows laptop, or even, I believe, Yanivar, correct me if I'm wrong, this is available on Mac as well?
Yes, that's true.
Okay, so I just wanted to highlight that one feature management tool that is available from Wolfvision. One other item of note, so Yanivar covered Microsoft Teams and unified communications platforms. One large benefit, and this is why we're having a ton of success with Wolfvision here in Canada, no reoccurring license fees for the life of the product. So there's a lot of competitors out there. There's a lot of wireless BYOD players in the market, and they rely on license fees, service agreements, updates are paid, and retroactive service agreements are required. Wolfvision is a pay once, you own it for the life of the product. Security updates, software, feature packs. In this time and day and age when people's budgets and but operating budgets are actually lowered, and we have to worry about cost effectiveness across not just this year, but going forward, Wolfvision has been able to step up and really set themselves apart from a lot of the other competitors there. So we're coming up on a half hour. I don't see any Q&A coming through just yet. I hope you guys found this very insightful. So you know what? We're going to give you guys back that half hour. Everybody's time is valuable and important. So maybe what we'll do is we will cut this off a little bit early. And as I mentioned on the onset, we will make this recording available to everyone at a later date. You should see a link in the next day or two sent out. So to all our attendees, thanks for joining us today. Jan, thanks for jumping in. I know you're in a 27 different time zones away from us, so I appreciate you jumping on for today's webinar and showing us how Wolfvision visualizers and obviously the Cynap have been solving a lot of these hybrid learning and work environment problems that we've been seeing. So
thank you so much.
All right, well, I hope everybody enjoyed this and found it very informational, and we will see you at the next webinar, pending when we decide to do one, let's be honest. So, all right, everybody have a good rest of your day. Thank you very much.